big news, obviously, that came out of everybody over the weekend. So this was the official statement that came out of Superkarts USA. USPKS reposted it. ROK is on board. I also was texting with some of the other promoters. I've talked to some of the other promoters about it too. I know Joe Janowski and the Stars Championship Series team, Christian Marsh. I mean, they're really forward-thinking people. I think they're open to keeping their racing clean as possible. You think about the other major events. There is some crossover to the CKNA. And what this statement is, and what this means right now, what is actually in place is just kind of the ban for one, ban for all. And that, of course, really only pertains to a small percent of people. Now, I believe this is going forward. I don't know for sure if this includes ban histories, guys who have been banned from one of the three or removed from one of the three, if that's going to start now, or if it's starting, beginning with this letter of intent that you're going to get blacklisted from them all. So whenever Ryan decides to push over a little micro kid because he was pissed because someone passed him when they weren't supposed to pass the god, we don't have to see Ryan at any more of these events or watch him take any more $5,000. So that's nice. Again, here, this is a good comment from Timothy Salvatore talking about a national governing body would help the sport, like about all the other major, countries. And that's true, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. But truth is, we kind of got to deal with what we have here, right? And at least make some steps forward. And I think that's the thing to take out of this, is that these guys are talking to each other. They're opening to doing whatever it takes, right? However that works together. They've been overwhelmed without a doubt over the last few years and for, I think, some time now of trying to deal with some of the on-track incidences. So I want to give a kudos to them for being open to doing stuff like that, to, saying to move forward, whether that means a national licensing system, whether that means a penalty point system, a sanctioning body through a third party, whatever it is. All those discussion, all those ideas, all those topics, more now than ever, it seems like everyone's working together, which that was the big idea of this statement, of letting it be known publicly. Obviously, they want to do that with less voices in the room. You can get a whole lot more done with a lot less people than with 100 people or the thousands and 10,000s in the karting community online. They're working towards solutions for all that, because nobody wants to see guys get hauled off in an ambulance. It's why, even in general, I was timid about the post, and I still am. I don't know if I'll ever fully release that crash video, at least in the light that would show Cole getting hurt, because putting that out publicly, it doesn't do any good for the sport to just have wrecks go viral. And I said that in the comment section on our happy hour last week. So Braden, your thoughts on this announcement when you saw it yesterday?
See, I think two different things about this, because on the one hand, I'm saying this doesn't really matter because this is really only concerning people that are trying to knife each other in the scale line, and it's not really anything to be concerned about for me. But on the other hand, I've gotten a lot of BS penalties from SKUSA, and do I really want to get banned from all the series because SKUSA deemed that I hit the curb too hard and cut the track? I don't know.
I mean, you did get a cut course penalty at Miami Grands last year, and I felt like that was pretty deserved,
That one was all right. That was easy on me with that
one. Ryan, what's your take on this whole deal, man?
Well, obviously, like Braden said, I think there's two sides of the coin. I mean, obviously, I think it would help the sport to have a governing body, kind of like they have in Europe, where you have someone at the end of the day who says, like, you're just being reckless on the racetrack. I've raced with drivers who aren't in the championship, don't know they're not really going to win, and then they just take people out because it's fun. I mean, there's drivers that literally come up to me and they're like, I'm just going to take this guy out before the race. And you're like, I mean, kind of know who I'm talking about, but they'll just say that and then they do it. And then there's no real repercussions for it. And so you kind of want to see somebody like that have something, come their way. But then at the same time, the more power you give to any organization anywhere, sometimes it can be abused. So I think it's double-sided. I mean, obviously I'm looking forward to it. I don't really ever get that many penalties, so I'm not super concerned. But I know there are drivers who are kind of dirty, and it would be nice to know that they have to think about something at the end of the day. It's not like they just get to go home and it's all good and go to the next race. It's, you might not be able to go to the next race if you keep driving like that. So the fact that they actually have to double, like, just think about it a little bit while they're on the racetrack, I think is probably going to benefit the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same page as Braden and Ryan there. I think that There's parts to it that'll be pretty good with, making sure everybody's in line, making sure the series are all coordinated with. If somebody's, even if they don't get, a ban or any penalties, but they start doing something bad at, say, a SKUSA event, they'll go to the next USPKS event, and USPKS will know, like, okay, well, this kid was being a problem at SKUSA, so we have to keep an eye on it. If he does anything, he's probably on a shorter leash than the rest of the field. But at the same time, if the series is throwing out, ridiculous penalties that shouldn't be penalties and shouldn't be getting punished, but somebody's, facing punishment for them anyways, you could see that going the wrong way. But I think if you have that situation happening, you're going to have the other two series that are going to come in and say, like, well, we're looking at this and we think it's fine. So they're all probably going to keep each other in check, at least for the first few years, until there's a more established, like, single unit that's probably going to run everything.
Annie, what's your thoughts on this whole deal? Like,
I think it's interesting to see it happen. I think it would be good for the karting community, like just keeping everyone safe, and it would be good for the drivers, like not getting penalties that they don't deserve, kind of like what Brayden was saying and Ryan. I know at Winter Series I was getting a lot of pushback bumper penalties, and I'm not really an aggressive driver, so I didn't really deserve those per se. But I think that this kind of system would help implement fixing that, just fixing it as a whole.
Well, I think it just kind of legitimizes it a little bit more like it is in Europe. I mean, as far as I know, every thing that I went as far as, X30, ROK, they all require you to get an FIA karting license. And so that license, if you don't have it, you can't race. And so I know that it's kind of the same thing over there that they've already had. If you mess up and you get your license revoked, which obviously is it's a pretty big mess up. But if you do it, then you can't race pretty much any of the major stuff over there. And so, I mean, I think it legitimizes the sport. That's why I'm pretty excited about it. But obviously, it depends on how many pushbacks does it take before you actually receive some kind of, discipline, or how many, intentional punts does it take before you receive a discipline. That's really, there's got to be kind of a consistent line drawn to where, it makes some sense for everybody. And it's a difficult spot to be in. I mean, I do not envy any of those guys at all, because that's going to be hard. It's like you said, I mean, once you pull that trigger on banning somebody from everything, it's not just the driver that's going to be upset with you. It's going to be the team owners that's going to be upset with you. There's going to be a lot of people on that line, the engine builder. There's a lot of people that one mouth feeds. And so, once you pull that trigger, it's a big trigger to pull, and that can upset a lot of people.
From everything I understand, like, they're taking their time with it, which is good, for better or for worse. I mean, you don't want them to jump into anything. It means there's probably not going to be any kind of penalty system or license system that would even come in until at the earliest next year. I can't imagine they would do anything like that mid-season. There's not a whole lot of U.S. majors left in the year. There's still more to talk about if they want to add more series into it. The easiest thing and the main thing I think that they were all concerned of is whatever penalties they wanted to dish out after Utah, or if the Utah stuff could carry over, is to try and get that.